Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Grow with G. I am so happy you're here and listening. The podcast brings me so much joy and I'm just connecting with so many people over it. So thank you. I am recording in Costa Rica, specifically Manuel Antonio. I just finished my yoga teacher training and I'm still digesting everything that happened and everything I learned. I learned a lot. And I'll do another episode on yoga in its whole. But this episode, I want to talk about letting things go. And I was practicing this before the yoga teacher training. I was really trying to release a lot of things actually, but primarily on this trip, one of the biggest things I was working through was letting go of my attachment to things. And I had even been practicing that. I don't know if you've listened, but I did a boat ride from Panama to Colombia and I had waterproofed my bag, but I wasn't 100% sure of it. And at one point I really thought my laptop was soaked and ruined. And that was just my mind making up stories out of fear and out of that attachment. But on that boat ride, I really practiced being like, well, if it's ruined, it's ruined. It's just a thing that I can replace. Yes, it's annoying to replace. Yes, it sucks to replace, but it is replaceable. And when I talked myself through that, I started with my practice of letting things go, because a lot of times we're not in control of everything. Like, yes, you can waterproof your bag, and to the extent you do it has an outcome on the event, but you can't control everything. You can only do your best to prepare and hope that it's enough, and know that hopefully most of the time, like, as long as you're safe, you're not compromised, like it's nothing to do with your health, we can let stuff go. And it doesn't just have to be physical stuff. It can be letting go of your identity. Who have you created yourself to be for others instead of being your authentic self? What careers have you chosen based on how it would make you seem to others instead of, do you enjoy the work day to day? Because no one else is sitting there doing it. And most of the time people don't even care what you do for a living. Or the people who do care and who judge you based off your career are not the people for you in reality. So yeah, the career identity is a really big one for me, because my whole life, like since I was a teenager, I wanted to be a lawyer. I want to do an episode on that properly, but in summary, I know I chose that career because I thought that people would respect me for it, and because I had such low self-worth that I thought a career was going to be the thing that people could respect me for. And along with that career, I thought came money and status. In reality, when I got the career, I was actually embarrassed to tell people I was a lawyer, because I thought that it was lame. Like, you're at a party, like, what a boring thing to say that you're a lawyer in my head. So then I hid the fact that I was a lawyer And I would just say the most vague things, and then people would be so confused. They're like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm in a grad program. They're like, in what? And I'm like, oh, at a law firm. Like, why was the one thing I worked so hard to achieve ultimately something I was really embarrassed about? Like, that messed with me, being like, I didn't get the things that I thought I was going to get from the career that I worked so hard for. And I think there comes a time where when you really know you're in a career that's not for you, let it go. Let it go. Easier said than done, because bills need to be paid. All of that, yes, I'm very aware of that. But if you can't quit your job straight away, start researching things or discovering things about yourself that do make you feel joy, and slowly try to find a way into other roles. Or a big one for me with careers lately has been like, okay, like even if I don't know what my dream role is, maybe there's companies that embody the values or attract a similar sort of person where like I could thrive even at that company despite whatever the role is. And I've talked to a lot of people on my trip who feel like this. So if you feel like, how did I get here? Like, how did I end up in this career? You are so not alone. And I really want you to feel that and create a space to allow you to find what does bring you joy. And what does success mean to you? Because growing up, I thought success was working long hours at a reputable place, earning a lot of money. And now success, it means something way different to me. Now success means not missing birthday dinners because I'm working, and it means not being too tired to do anything on the weekend. Success is being able to spend time with my family, my friends, to feel nourished and to feel like I'm helping people. But I understand that a career identity is something we cling to. Like, how do you describe yourself other than your job? And this was a big theme that we discussed at the yoga training, because non-attachment is a big principle in yoga philosophy. And the reason they don't want us to attach to things is because everything changes. So you will always be suffering if you're attached to anything, like literal things, identities, words, everything, because everything changes. Or your body. That's a big one. The body ages. If you're attached to how you look when you see yourself in the mirror, one day you're suffering. And actually, the yogis say we suffer now, even while we have the thing, because we're so scared of losing the thing. Which hits, like, that sucks. That means you're suffering now and you're suffering later when you lose it. Because, so in yoga philosophy, they say people, places, things always changing, but it's your consciousness that stays the same. So we need to figure out what our consciousness is and separate that from the job title, separate that from the things you have, from your body. Like, we are not our body, which is a really weird thing to think about. It's the storehouse for our consciousness, which is crazy, right? Because you look in the mirror, you're like, that's me. No. You are your consciousness that witnesses your body. I don't know if I'm going too far into this. Anyway, that doesn't mean that you can't have the things, because you can have the job, you can have the cars, you can have the clothes. But yogis say, just don't be attached to them. Let things come and go as they need, instead of clinging on to things out of fear. And that's also very relatable to hoarding, right? Because hoarding is the fear of the future not being abundant to provide you with what you need when you need it. And I'm a massive hoarder. Like, all the time I try to clean out my wardrobe and hardly anything changes. I have so much stuff, and backpacking has actually made me realize like how little things I need, and how my things actually weigh me down when I have too much stuff to carry. It's a massive burden. But it's crazy because when we were learning more about non-attachment in the yoga training, I was like, yeah, I really want to practice this. Like, I want to get really good at this. And the universe listened, and the universe sent me a test straight away. And like, lately I'm just feeling like as soon as I learn something, I get tested on it, and I'm like, this is exhausting. Like, I need a bit of time to like sit with the content. But the universe is like, here you go. Basically, not all my things, a lot of my things molded in my room because my room was really hot. And there was no AC, and I was trying to keep like the bugs out of my room, but then I think there wasn't enough airflow. So my things molded over, and I was so upset. I think it was like a combination of things. Like, we were doing a new diet, no dairy, no gluten, no meat, sugar-free. And we were doing 12-hour days, and about half of that was movement. And then we had a final exam, which is where we gave a class. And I know I was really stressed about that class, and I was just exhausted just from also being on a schedule for so long and all the movements. And like, I was just not in a good place to practice non-attachment, and which is life, right? Like, there's a difference between like learning about non-attachment and just storing it away, or like, okay, I've learned the thing, now I've got to practice it. And I was so upset. I had already been having a lot of breakdowns before my clothes molded, and then this was just like cherry on top. And what happened? So I was so upset. And it's okay to be upset, and I at least know that like what was getting me through was being like, okay, like these are only material things. Like, at the end of the day, if I have to throw everything out, yes, it will cost money, but I will be able to replace everything. It just felt really upsetting because even my backpack had molded over, and like, as a backpacker, it feels like this is my home. Like, this is my stuff. This is the only things I feel like I have right now. Obviously, I have a lot of things back home, so it's not all I have, but it really can feel like all you have. So I was really upset. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, it's like one laptop like on the boat ride. It's like all of my clothes. And I'm not going home after training. Like, I am still traveling for a long time. But I was like, this is a test from the universe about non-attachment. And I think that each time something happens, you just learn more. And just because you learn something once doesn't mean you master it when it comes up straight away. Like, it takes so much work to let go of things because we've been conditioned to attach. Society has pressured us into and marketed us into wanting new clothes, and Instagram makes us feel like don't post in the same outfit, and society makes us feel like, oh, you're only valuable if you have a certain job. So like, of course we can't drop these things overnight, but I really want to encourage you to start the process of letting things go, just based on the fact that holding on only hurts us. Because when you detach from your items, that's when you have space for joy. Because you don't care if you drop tomato sauce over your white dress because it's just a dress. Yeah, why does that bother me so much when that happens, right? So let it go. It doesn't serve us. Who cares? There are so many things I think we would all benefit from letting go of. Like, for example, when you're traveling, your expectations can totally ruin an experience for you that otherwise would have been amazing. And I really love the times where I hardly research anything and I show up and it's just the most stunning place ever. Like, I didn't really research Cartagena, and that was just stunning. When I was in Portugal, my friends from Portugal said, oh, go to Porto. I was like, I didn't look up a single thing. I just booked accommodation and went. And it was such a beautiful town. And it just feels like things just have a way of working out. And a lot of the time, they work out better than you could have planned it. So I think that's a really fun way to travel sometimes, is to like not research anything, and then you don't even have expectations you need to let go of because you can't create expectations if you don't know anything. Travel tips by G. That might freak out some people, but you can also let go of your expectations of people, because that's just another way we hurt ourselves when they don't meet our expectations. Like, I have had that so many times where I have created a version of what someone should do in a situation and then they don't do it, and I'm so upset. And Mel Robbins talks about a let them theory. So she says, just let people be as they are, and then you decide with that information. Because if you're forcing someone to do something, like, that's not them. That's not authentic. And one day they're not going to live up to your expectations, and then you'll realize that it's just fake all along. Wouldn't you rather know who somebody is as a person, accept them as they are, and instead of forcing people to do certain things? And also maybe you don't want to be friends with them after you realize actually who they are, and that's fine. I'm practicing unconditional love at the moment, so I'm really trying to love everyone as they are. I'm even trying to love the guy who scammed me here in Costa Rica. I digress. But basically I'm saying, like, once you know who people are, then you can choose how much time you give them, and instead of forcing them to be a certain way and then realizing that they're not and being hurt and then having to start over again. So I think that's really cool. And that also comes with the ability to let go of people. I've been somebody who's been so attached to people, and I think that's actually the reason why I was so bummed is an understatement, but when I was so heartbroken about my best friend breakup, where I have an episode on that at the start of the podcast, because I was so attached to her and the idea of what a best friend is and the idea that best friends are for life. And that created so much hurt when that friendship ended. And now I'm trying to accept that people can come and go, and I can have a really close friend this year, and maybe next year, like, we won't be close, and that's okay because I'll have a new friend. Like, it's all cyclical, and I think it all works out when people can come and go as your interests change, because people are changing and your interests change, your places in common change. So it's so normal that friendships can change too. I think when you let go of the idea that you have to be friends for life with someone, you let go of the hurt. So I'm practicing that. Again, this is just so much easier to say than to actually do. But I think we just keep trying. We just keep trying, and the next time it will hurt less, and then the time after that it will hurt even less. Like, these are just things. I just want everyone to be happy. I want to be happy. I want you to be happy, no matter who you are, no matter if I know you or not. Like, this podcast is just to help people and me. Because when I say these things on the podcast, like, I have to live by them, which keeps me really accountable. And in a way, like, I also have to let go of the words I say on the podcast, because often I record an episode and then I'm like, oh, I didn't say that right, or oh, I can't do that, and then I have to refilm it and do it again, and then it's not how I want it to be again, and then I have to do a couple more takes. And sometimes you just have to let go, put it out there, know that you did your best, and no one's perfect, but you're perfect because you exist and because you're trying, and that's all we have to do. All we have to do is try. And, like, let go of the outcome. Like, absolutely, I'm trying so hard to build up this podcast. But I also just have to let go and just trust that if it's meant to grow, it will grow. That's really my attitude in life, is that if it's meant to work out, it will. And a lot of the time I regret past decisions, and I'm like, oh, I wish I went to this country instead of this country or something. And it's like, everything is working out exactly how it needs to be. I'm trying to build that confidence in myself to just be like, I am exactly where I'm meant to be. And I hope I can pass that along to you as well, that you are exactly where you are meant to be. And trust that even if you don't know why something is happening to you, it's happening for you. And that was really hard for me to accept on the yoga training, because so many things were going wrong, and I'm not in the headspace to talk about the rest of the things right now, but so many other things were happening, and I don't know why now, but I know one day I'll be like, oh, like, that's why. Like, maybe it's making me stronger for something else that I need. And when you at least start to find that inner strength, I think that also helps us let go of things, because you know that you can get through anything. That since you're worthy because you exist, it's not the job that makes you worthy. It's not how you act around people that makes you worthy. You're already worthy. And when you know that, you have so much more power to just do anything. And when you feel that powerful, you can do crazy things, like not argue with people. That's one of my favorite things that I've stopped doing. Like, right now, somebody could come up to me and tell me 1 + 1 equals 5, and I'll say you are absolutely correct. Go on your way, sir. I have no energy to fight with people anymore. And I used to be confrontational, absolutely, in my teenage years. I don't know. Whereas now it's so much more peaceful to not argue, to not waste energy on proving someone wrong. If you know you're right, you don't need anybody else to confirm it. And I think that's also the same with forgiveness. I used to be somebody who held massive grudges, and that was due to that was due to a lot of things, but mostly my emotional immaturity. And I don't know how else to put it, but maybe my lack of self-worth when somebody hurt me and I was already feeling hurt, so it just felt like a real kick in the guts, and I had to let them know how much that person hurt me, because I was hurting so much back then. I wanted the other person to hurt the same amount. I wanted them to know how much they hurt me, but that just creates more hurt. Because a lot of the time with grudges, the other person actually doesn't even really care. They're out living their life and you're there seething and you're like, oh, this person sucks, like da-da-da. That person is living their life. They do not care. So you're only hurting yourself by holding a grudge and focusing on stuff you don't want to focus on. Like right now, like I just want to be happy, so I'm just going to focus on happiness and let all the things that don't bring me happiness fall away. But I'm not going to actively sit there and try to think of my unhappiness, if that makes sense. And I think that also relates to letting go of words people have said to you, because words are just words, right? Like we only give words meaning by the way we interpret things, because I think we've all had experiences where people have said bad things to us and we laughed it off because we're like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't believe you. But when somebody who knows us says something hurtful, that's like they could say the same thing that the other person said, but when it came from somebody you knew and you're like, oh, like I do think that they could be right here. Like that's when it hurts. Like that's just our interpretation of the words. And we've also had the reverse where people have said really kind things to us and we don't believe them, or we think they've got another motive. And at the end of the day, like they're just words. Like if they don't serve you, let them go. Who cares what other people think? Like, what do you think? You're only hurt if you believe what that person said. And that comes back to developing that inner self-worth when you know, I know I'm a kind person. I know XYZ about me. If anybody tells me anything other than that, like, I don't care because I know. I know me. And only you knows you. Everybody else has just made judgments. Everybody else has just placed you in a box. But they don't know your intentions. That actually reminds me of a really nice quote I heard. It was, we judge ourselves off our intentions, not our actions, and we judge others off their actions and not their intentions, which I feel like is so true, because a lot of the time when we apologize, we're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you, like I was just doing XYZ. And the other person, they just judge you off what happened instead of the intention, and we do the same. So I've really recently started to try to drop and let go of what someone did, and if you can tap into the intention instead, there's a lot less hurt there, because a lot of the time people are doing the best that they can, and that just shows up differently for everyone. So when we can accept that, that is when we hurt less and we can be more happy, which is the goal, right? So I have talked for too long. So I am going to wrap it up here. But I love you, and you can let go of absolutely anything. You are worthy because you exist. You have pure intentions. Say, like, most people have pure intentions. And we need to forgive each other when things go wrong. We need to do things for ourselves, like careers that light us up, instead of doing something for other people. Let go of all the material stuff. Like, that's the easiest thing to work with, because that doesn't challenge, it does challenge who you are as a person if you've attached to that, but just start practicing in really small ways. And let me know how you go. It's a very much work in progress for me, as evidenced. But, we're trying, and one day it will get better. And it's even better just by knowing, like, oh my gosh, like, wow, I'm really attached to my backpack and all my clothes. Like, and when you know you're attached to something, like, that's how you set yourself free too. Because you're like, I'm not that. That actually has nothing to do with who I am as a person. I'm so much more than the clothes, the career, the identity. So yeah, I love you. And I will drop another episode soon about the rest of my yoga training. Have a good night, a good day, wherever you are in the world. I love, love, love you. And we'll speak soon. Love you. Bye.